Guys, book talk got me. You may have seen the Fourth Wing and Iron Fang special editions, so we're gonna make our own today. And I went a little crazy. When I first got these books, I got the Fourth Wing Holiday Edition, which is the US version, and they had special end pages. And then I also grabbed the Fourth Wing Australian First Edition, which has the UK maps on the end papers. Nothing else special on the cover, but it does have the dragons that you may have seen in the North American First Edition as well. And then I also grabbed the Waterstones edition, which has, again, the UK maps, but it has these edges that are just perfect because they actually align with the following books, where none of the other edges really make a cohesive edges image. It's just regular plain black or dragons. So I personally really liked the ones with the dragons from Waterstone, and I also really liked the North American end papers because the ones from the UK just didn't really appeal to me. They look a little more plain compared to the North American ones, which are nice and detailed. But I also really liked the Waterstones edges, which again, they connect. So my design here today is similar to the Waterstones edition, where they're going to connect, and you can grab these files over at my Etsy shop, which I will link in the description down below, to make your own edges. And the design will connect for all the books, just like the Waterstones one, but it is unique because it is not exactly like the Waterstones edition. Well, let's get started and start making it. So once you've grabbed your regular edition book, we are going to take some paper and we're going to cover up the cover here so we don't get any paint on our book. I'm taking off the dust jacket, and then I'm going to fold the paper, and I'm going to cover both the front and the back. And just as a quick tip, I like to add tape just against the pages of the book, and that helps hold the paper down so that the paint doesn't get into the edges there. I also add some tape along the edges just to keep the paper down because it likes to puff up, and that prevents the paint from getting on the edges correctly. Then I grab some wood boards to press the book together, and then I use C-clamps to clamp it all together. But before I do that, I like to label which board is the front, so I know exactly the position that I should put the design on, because when you start sanding it, it starts getting a little confusing. It actually helps if the boards are the same size as the book, which I don't have here, but I'll probably do in the future. It just makes it easier to clamp, and then also to spray all three sides in one go. Next, I'm going to grab some sandpaper, and I'm going to sand the edges down to make them nice and flat. This is actually a really important step. If the book's not completely flat, then it's going to leave streaks when you go to paint it, and it'll also bleed a little bit around the edges of your design if it's not flat. It just won't stick properly and look right. And you can see the difference here between the smooth edges and the unsanded part and how bumpy it is here. I also like to get a compressed air duster to help blow off any of the dust from the sanding, and this really helps a lot because if you don't do this, then when you go to paint it, then the paint actually just goes on the little dust particles, and then it kind of leaves like a speckled design on your edges, which is not what we're looking to do. So if you want a nice smooth image, then this is kind of an important step as well. You can also just blow it off, but I find like I don't get all the dust off when I do that. Now that our book is prepped, you can load up the Edges SVG file in Cricut Design Space, and you don't need to manipulate it in any way here. The only thing we do need to do is grab the layers and attach everything so that they don't move when you go to cut it. And then you can go ahead and make it. And I'm just using removable vinyl when I go to cut. And then we can go ahead and carefully weed out the design, and you're basically removing any of the black areas that are on the book edges. And then you can apply your transfer tape on the design, and I like to use my roller to get a nice firm grip on the transfer tape. And when you remove the vinyl backing, I like to remove it on a mat. It helps to hold it down while I remove the backing. It might take a little bit, but if you do it at an angle, it usually comes off a lot easier. And then making a note of where the front of your book is, you can put your design on the book using transfer tape. And very carefully remove the transfer tape off the book. Now we're ready to spray our book, so make sure you do this outside in a well-ventilated area. And I'm just using Rust-Oleum's Painter's Touch. This is just a black matte spray. And you want to do multiple light spray layers, because if you spray too much at one point, it's going to bleed through the pages. And here's what I mean when I say that the edges puff up and you're not able to get paint on the areas right against the hardcover. So you want to watch out for these and make sure that you spread the spray paint enough that it does cover these areas. And once it's dry, you can take off the clamps and start peeling the design off the book. And you'll notice that once you open it, it'll pretty much immediately start cracking off. And here we have it. Here's our custom sprayed 4th Wing edition. And our custom sprayed Iron Flame edition. And here we have the books together. And you can see that the edges do connect. And all the future books that I will design for these edges will also connect. And if you're looking for more book-related craft videos, I also made 4 custom bookmarks with my Cricut for my special edition books that you can go ahead and watch over here. And that's all for today. Until next time, guys. Bye!